Hi everyone, welcome back to the C programming series. And in the previous video, we have discussed something about array, but solving questions is more important. That's why we are going to solve some questions in this particular video. So let's start with the problems. The very first problem is find maximum in the array. Let's see how we are going to approach this particular problem. In this case, you will be given an array of size n. Let's suppose size is 5 and your array looks like this. And your task is to find out the maximum in the array. So your output is 50. So how we are going to approach this problem, that is very, very important in this particular case. So you need to find out the maximum in the array, means the largest element in the array. So what we can do, we can make this element as the maximum element, that I will mark 10 as the maximum element. And then after what I will do, I will traverse the whole array and I will compare every element with the maximum, and if the element is greater than the maximum, I will update my maximum value. For example, in this case, see, I have marked 10 as my maximum value. I have marked 10 as my maximum value. Then I will start traversing from next element. I will take out the element and compare with the maximum. Yes, 30 is greater than 10, so update the maximum. Now my maximum is 30. Next time 20, compare with 30. See, 20 is less than 30. Do nothing. Next time take 50, compare with 30. 30 is less than 50, means 50 is greater than 30, so now my maximum is 50. Next time take 40, compare it with 50. Again 50 is greater than 40, so no need to do anything. My maximum is 40. So this is my approach. That is how I am going to solve this particular problem. So I think intuition is pretty clear to everyone. First, mark the very first element as the maximum element, and then after traverse the whole array, and then after compare each element with the maximum. If the element is greater than the maximum, you are going to update the maximum. So let's see the code for this particular thing. I will give you the code and I will explain the code. So see, I hope the code is visible to everyone. In this case, what I have done, this is your main function. I have created a n. I have taken n as input from the user. This is the size of my array. And then after I have declared an array. And then after I took input for this particular array from the user input. And then after what I did, I called a function find maximum. I passed my array. I passed the size. This function call will find out the maximum in this particular array, and this will return this maximum value. So I am storing that in my answer variable, and then after I am printing my answer variable. Now this is my function find maximum. Its return type is int. Why? Because it will return the maximum value from the array. And then after, this is my function name. I have received my array. I have received my size. What I did, I marked the very first element, array of 0, as the maximum element. And then after, I traversed my array, rest array, from this position to this position. That is why from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, from 2 to 4, I traversed my array. And then after, I compared each element with the maximum. And if it is greater than the maximum, then I updated my maximum. If it is not greater than, I will do nothing. I will skip. I will move to the next iteration. And then after, what at the end, after completing this loop, what I will do, I will return my maximum value. So this function will return the maximum value from this particular array, and I am storing that maximum value in my answer variable. And on printing this answer variable, you will get the maximum value from this particular array. I hope the code is clear to everyone. Now move to the next question. Next question is find minimum in the array. Now the next question is finding the minimum in this particular array. So in this case, what we can do, you have been given an array, you have been given a size. What you will have to do, you will have to find out the minimum value in this particular array. For example, in this array 10 is the minimum value. So what you will do, I will use the same approach what we have used in maximum. I will mark the very first element as my minimum element, and then after I will traverse my whole array. I will compare each element with this value. If the values are smaller, I will update my minimum value. That's what we have done in maximum. In maximum we were checking for the greater value, in maximum we will check for the lesser value. So at the end what I will receive, I will receive the minimum value. So let's see the code for minimum in the array. Now see the code very carefully. What I did, first I took n as input from the user. This is size of the array, and then after array declaration, this is array declaration, and then after I took array as input, and then after I called a function. I passed array, I passed the size. And what this function will do, this function will give me the minimum value. This will give me the minimum value, and I have stored that minimum value in my answer variable, and then after I printed my answer variable. Now this is the find minimum function. You received the array, you received the size, and then after this is of integer type, return type, so it will return the minimum value from this particular array. Then after what I did, I marked the very first element as the minimum element, and then after from next element, means from this part to this part, I traversed the whole array. Then after I checked each element, is it smaller than minimum? If it is smaller than minimum, I updated my minimum. And after running completion of this loop, what will happen, my minimum will store the minimum value from this array, and I am returning that minimum value. So when you will return that minimum value, that minimum value is returned over here, and it is stored in answer, and when you will print the answer, you will get the minimum value. For example, you will get 10 in this particular scenario. I hope this is clear. Let's move to the next question. So in this problem, you will have to find out the even numbers, count of even numbers and count of odd numbers in this particular array. Means you will be given an array of size n, means this is your array, and in this array how many even numbers are there and how many odd numbers are there, you will have to count. For example, in this case 2 is a even number, 3 is a odd number, 4 is a even number, 5 is a odd number, 7 is a odd number. So how many even numbers are there? There are 2 even numbers. And how many odd numbers are there? 1, 2 and 3. There are 3 odd numbers. So this should be your output. So the idea is very simple. What you will do, you will traverse the whole array. And then after you will take out each element, and if it is even. Now how you will check for even? Using modulus 2. If any number modulo 2 is equals to 0, that means that number is divisible by 2, means that number is even number. So I will take out every element from the array and I will check. If it is even, I will increase the count of even. And if it is odd number, for example, this is an odd number, so I will increase the odd count by 1. So this is my intuition. So what I will do, I will traverse the whole array. I will take out each element from this array, and then after what I will do, I will check whether if it is divisible by 2, if modulo 2, if this number modulo 2 is equals to 0, means this is a even number. So I will increase the even count. Otherwise, if it is not divisible, in else part, if it is not divisible, means it is a odd number, so I will increase the odd count. This is what I will do in this particular scenario. So let's see the code quickly. Now see, this is your main function. I have declared the size. I took size from the user. Then after I have declared an array, and then after I took input for this particular array. And then after what I did, I have created an even count and I have initialized it with 0. Then after I have created an odd count, I have initialized it with 0. See, initializing this with 0 is necessary. Why? Because in some compilers it may store garbage value if you will not initialize with 0. That's why always initialize the count variables with 0. Then after, what you will do, you will traverse the whole array. See, I am starting from 0 and I am traversing till n minus 1. So I am traversing the whole array. And then after, I have a if condition. If array of I modulus 2 equals to 0, means the current number, I will check the current number, it divisible by 2, is the modulo 2 equals to 0, and if it is true, I will increase the even count. Else, if it is not true, see, if this is not true, then I will go into the else part. Means yes, that number is not divisible by 2, and that number is not divisible by 2 means that is a odd number, so I will increase the odd count. Now after that, what I will do, I will print f even count percentage d and odd count percentage d, even and d. So what this will print, this will print even and odd count. Now there is a task for you, how you will solve this problem using functions. Solve this problem using functions. The thing which we are doing here, do this with the help of functions. I hope this is clear. So the next problem, let's move to the next problem. So in this particular question, you have been given the size of array, and then you have been given an array that is 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. What you will have to do, you will have to find out the reverse of this particular array. Means you will have to modify this array in such a way that the array will contain the numbers but in reversed order. See, some of the students use a different method or use a different approach. What they do, they print this array in this particular direction, in the backward direction. So this is not the correct answer. Actually, you are printing the array, but the problem states that you will have to reverse the array, means you will have to modify the array. If you will print, then it is not modification, you are just printing and you are satisfying the output, that's all. You are not modifying your array. So in this case, array modification is mandatory, so that your actual array should look like this: 7, 5, 4, 3, 2. I hope this is clear, the problem statement is clear. Now let's move to the intuition. If you will observe this very carefully, if you will observe this input and if you will observe this output very carefully, you will see that the first element has been moved to the last, the second element has been moved to the second last, the third element has been moved to the third last, and see, in the same way they have been moved. So first has been moved to this particular place, second has been moved to this particular place, third is added, fourth has been moved to this particular place, and fifth has been moved to this particular place. Clear? So if you will see, the numbers have been swapped from the first and last. For example, in this case, 7 and 2 has been swapped. Then after, 5 and 3 has been swapped, and then after, 4 has been swapped. So see, if you will swap a number by itself, then nothing is going to change. So what is happening here, the first and last elements are swapping. The first and last elements are swapping in this particular scenario. So how I will approach this problem? Very simple, very simple. I will take a pointer. See, what I will do, I will swap the first element and the last element of the array. So the first element is represented. See, I will traverse the whole array, and then after, see, see what you can do in this case. In this case, if you will swap first and last elements, then what will happen? This will become 7 and this will become 2. And then after, if you will swap these two elements, so this will become 5 and this will become 3. Now see, this is your output array. So in this case, array size is 5. Array size is 5. So how many swappings be performed? Be performed 5 by 2 is equals to 2. So if we will swap for 2 times, we will get the reversed array. In the same way, if the array size is 6, if the array size is 6, for example, see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Array size is 6. If I will swap these two, then these two, and then these two, so I will get my reversed array. So in this case, 6 by 2 is equals to 3, and we are performing 3 swappings. So n by 2 times, if I will perform swapping for n by 2 times, then my array will get swapped. So what I will do, I will run a loop for n by 2 times, and then what I will do, I will swap the first and last element. So let's see the code for this particular thing, and then I will explain to you. Now see the code what I did. First I declared n just for size of the array, then after array declaration, then after array input, and then after what I am doing, I am calling a function reverse array, and I am passing the array, I am passing the size. And then after what this function will do, this function will reverse my array. This function will reverse my array. So my array has been modified using this function. Clear? So after that what I am doing, after that I am printing my array. So now my array will be printed, but my modified array will be printed. Why? Because array has been modified by this particular function. So when you will print it, the modified array will be printed. Now this is the function, this is of void type. Why? Because it is not returning anything, and you received your array, you received the size. What I will do, I will perform swapping for n by 2 times. So I will run a loop for n by 2 times, n by 2 times. So I is starting from 0, so I should be less than n by 2. Then it will run for example n is 5, so it will run for 0, it will run for 1. So 2 times on swapping for 2 times, you will get the reversed array. So this will work very well. So I am starting from 0, I am going till n by 2, less than n by 2, and then after what I am doing, I am swapping the first element and the last element. Now see, the first element I is starting from 0, so the first element is array of I, and what will be the last element? Last element will be array of n minus 1 and minus I. Why? Because every time the last element will change. In first iteration, this is the last element and this is the first element. In the next iteration, when I equals to 1, 3 will be my first element, that is 3 will be my first element, and 5 will be my last element. So n minus I minus 1 or n minus 1 minus I will represent my last element in every iteration. Why? Because your last element will change in every iteration. In first iteration, this is n minus 1, yani fourth. So n is 5 minus 1 minus 0. So this is fourth. In next iteration, I is 1. In next iteration, I is 1. So your first element is array of I, that is this one. This one is your first element, but your last element will be the second last one. So this will be your last element. So 5. How you will get this? N minus 1 minus I means n is 5, 5 minus 1, that is 4, minus I is 1, that is 3. So you will get the 5 with index number 3. So this is how I will get the last element. And what I am doing, I am swapping the first and last elements. So how to swap a number? First I will create a temporary variable. I will store the first number. I will create a temporary to store the first number. Then I will assign first number second. Then I will assign second number to the first number. And then after array of n minus I minus 1 is equals to temp. In this way your array has been swapped. Array elements has been swapped. So see, let's try run this code. For I equals to 0, I equals to 0 and 0 is less than n by 2. N by 2 is equals to 2. N is equals to 5, so n by 2 equals to 2. So 0 is less than true. I will enter into this loop. What I will do, I will create a temporary variable, and inside temporary I will store array of I, means array of 0, and array of 0 is 2. So I will store 2. And then after what I will do, array of I is equals to array of n minus I minus 1. So array of n minus I minus 1 means 5 minus 1 minus 0, that is 4. Array of 4, and array of 4 is 7. So, and then after this value is swapped. Array of I is now 7, and array of n minus I minus 1, that is array of 4 is equals to temp. So 7, so temp is assigned, temp is 2, so this temp is assigned to this array of 4. So these two values are swapped. These two values are swapped. Now next time I will become 1, so you will swap the array of 1 and array of n minus I minus 1, that is array of 3. So now swap them. So this will become 5 and this will become 3. Now see, I will become 2. 2 less than 2 is false. So no need to swap, no need to perform any iteration. Just come out of the loop. I will come out of this particular loop. Done. So this is how you can reverse an array, and I hope you have solved this particular thing, solved this particular question. That's it for this particular video. Bye bye, have a nice day.